There comes a moment in every man's life when he must stop asking for permission to be powerful. That moment is now. You stand at the invisible crossroads between your current mediocrity and your unrealized greatness, and the only thing separating the two is not fate, not talent, not luck, but decision. A decision to rule your emotions, discipline your mind, and take command of your inner world, or forever remain a servant to your impulses and circumstances. The reason most men stay broke is not because of the economy, nor education, nor environment. It is because they are emotionally undisciplined, mentally unfocused, and spiritually asleep. They wait for the right time, the right feeling, the right sign, and in that waiting, their lives decay. Action delayed is destiny denied. You were not born to wait, you were born to will. Let us be clear from the start. Wealth begins not in the wallet, but in the will. Power begins not in movement, but in mentality. And freedom begins not in the outer world, but in the fortress of self-command. You ask, why am I not wealthy? Why do others rise while I remain stuck? The answer lies in the war between your thoughts and your emotions. Most men are ruled by their emotions: envy, fear, anger, laziness, shame, doubt. They call it personality. I call it permission for failure. Emotional reaction is slavery. Thoughtful response is mastery. If you cannot delay gratification, you cannot build a fortune. If you cannot remain calm while others panic, you cannot lead. If you cannot detach from insult, you cannot rise above mediocrity. The starting point of all achievement is definiteness of purpose. But the sustaining power behind all achievement is emotional detachment. For a man on a mission cannot afford to be derailed by the opinions of fools, the doubts of family, the betrayal of friends, or the siren call of comfort. He must walk alone, if necessary, and walk forward regardless. Success requires no apologies. Failure permits no alibis. So said Hill, and so I repeat it now. You cannot succeed if you still need applause to act. The man who waits to feel confident before acting has already lost to the man who acts and builds confidence through action. Waiting is the drug of the poor. Action is the weapon of the rich. The broke man seeks reassurance. The successful man executes. The difference is not external, it is internal. It is the architecture of thought, the discipline of emotion, and the focus of intention. Mastery begins when you say, I will act, whether I feel like it or not. Let us now turn to the first law, the law of mental neutrality. This law is simple, but not easy. It states, he who can remain unmoved in the face of turmoil shall direct the course of all outcomes. What does this mean? It means you must become like a general who does not panic when the battle turns. You must not react like a peasant. You must not plead like a child. You must observe, calculate, and respond. Mental neutrality is not apathy, it is control. It is not disinterest, it is power. It is the ability to stand still inside while the world spins outside. If you let your mood dictate your moves, you will never own a business, never lead a team, never command your time. You will always be a servant to your anxiety, a servant to other people's validation, a servant to failure disguised as comfort. When you detach from emotion, you attach to clarity. When you silence the voice of reaction, you awaken the voice of reason. And when reason governs your ship, you can sail through storms that sink lesser men. The second principle is this: definiteness of thought precedes definiteness of purpose. Most men confuse purpose with fantasy. They say, I want to be successful, but they don't define what success means. They say, I want to be rich, but they haven't counted the cost. They dream, but they do not build. They imagine, but they do not calculate. They live in clouds and die in confusion. Definiteness of purpose is born from definiteness of thought. You must sit with yourself. You must interrogate your longings. You must strip your desires of fantasy and clothe them in clarity. Ask yourself, what do I want? Why do I want it? What am I willing to endure for it? What must I become to deserve it? Until you can answer these without hesitation, you are still a wanderer, not a builder. And once you answer, burn the bridges behind you. Make your purpose a prison that only success can unlock. Now hear this. The most dangerous man in the world is the man who has nothing left to distract him. Distraction is the enemy of discipline. If your phone owns your attention, it owns your destiny. If your emotions own your decisions, they own your income. If your doubts own your silence, they own your future. Discipline begins not in doing more, but in doing only what matters. And to do only what matters, you must think only what matters. The war is not in your calendar. The war is in your consciousness. The next law is the law of thought first. Before every action, there was a thought. And before every fortune, there was a dominant idea. What is your dominant idea? If your mind is filled with complaints, then your life will be filled with excuses. If your mind is filled with focus, then your life will be filled with execution. What are you feeding your mind? Who are you listening to? What are you reading? What are you meditating on at night? The seeds you plant in your thoughts are the harvest you will call your life. To take control of your outer world, you must take control of your inner dialogue. You must replace passive questions with active declarations. Do not ask, "Why can't I succeed?" Instead, declare, "I will succeed because I control my thoughts, and my thoughts create my world." Let me now reveal to you one of the great secrets of all power. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is command. To detach is not to care less, it is to care correctly. It is to care for your mission more than your mood. It is to care for your legacy more than your comfort. It is to prioritize principle over preference, decision over feeling, and character over chemistry. If someone insults you and you react, they own you. But if someone insults you and you smile, pause, and proceed, you own yourself. Power is never reactive. Power is selective. The emotionally detached man is not numb, he is surgical. He knows which feelings serve him and which enslave him. He does not seek revenge, he seeks results. He does not crave approval, he craves achievement. He does not fear being misunderstood, he fears being ordinary. Now listen to me and burn this in your mind. The man who cannot suffer boredom cannot hold greatness, because all greatness is built in silence, repetition, and invisible work. And those who are ruled by emotion will never make it through the valley of boredom long enough to reach the mountain of mastery. There is more. There is always more for the one who commands his mind like a general commands his army. You will face resistance, fatigue, failure, betrayal, but if you master your inner world, none of it will conquer you. You will bend, but you will not break. You will fall, but you will rise without complaint, because your center is unmoved. Let the weak chase motivation. You chase discipline. Let the masses react to trends. You respond to truth. Let the ordinary beg for inspiration. You build from intention. The world will not wait for you to feel ready. Wealth does not pause until your insecurities resolve themselves. Success does not whisper kindly to your self-doubt. It demands movement. It demands commitment before comfort and action before answers. It demands that you rise with trembling hands and unwavering eyes and declare, "I will not wait another day. I will not postpone my power. I will move now." The greatest prison ever built is not made of bricks and bars. It is made of hesitation, of good intentions left unfulfilled, of mornings spent scrolling and nights spent wondering, of dreams that rot in the attic of your excuses. Hesitation is spiritual decay. And those who entertain it will live lives that are technically alive but existentially dead. Do not wait. The time will never be just right. That was my voice once, and it must become yours. The ones who wait for motivation never move. The ones who wait for certainty never lead. The ones who wait for permission never live. Take action imperfect, unpolished, uncertain action now, and let your discipline refine the rest. Now we must speak of the golden key to inner sovereignty. Personal initiative. Personal initiative is not just the willingness to act, it is the refusal to wait. It is the spiritual rejection of stagnation. It is the refusal to surrender your momentum to circumstance. The man who acts without being told leads. The man who only moves when pushed remains behind. You must develop a will so sharp that it cuts through delay like steel. A will so fierce it ignites motion in others. A will so immovable, it burns through failure without slowing down. You must become the thermostat, not the thermometer. Do not reflect the temperature of your environment. Set it, dictate it, dominate it. Success is a property of motion, and motion must come from within. Now let us turn to a truth that most will never face. You are either a master of your emotions or a slave to your habits. There is no third category, there is no middle ground. Either you govern your thoughts and direct your emotional responses, or your impulses run your life. And those who are run by impulse live lives dictated by accident, not intention. The man who cannot endure discomfort will never create his destiny. He will adapt to environments not suited to his greatness. He will settle for jobs that insult his spirit. He will stay in relationships that betray his potential. And why? Because he cannot detach. Because he cannot say, "This may hurt now, but I choose alignment over attachment." Attachment is the poison of achievement. Attachment to comfort, attachment to certainty, attachment to reputation. If you are afraid to lose, you have already lost. You must be willing to destroy every part of yourself that no longer serves the mission. Your identity is clay. Mold it, break it, reform it, burn it, carve it again. That is the path of the powerful. Now hear this. Discipline is not denial. It is divine alignment. Do not confuse restriction with oppression. When you reject distraction, you are not imprisoning yourself, you are freeing yourself. When you resist temptation, you are not losing pleasure, you are gaining peace. When you say no to what is easy, you are saying yes to what is eternal. This is what the masses cannot grasp. The man of discipline is the freest man on earth, for he has conquered the hardest war, the war within. Let us now examine the engine of all inner change, autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is not magic. It is mechanical. It is the repeated, deliberate planting of thought until that thought becomes dominant. Whatever you repeat, you become. If you repeat, "I am capable," you condition your nerves, your reflexes, your instincts to act accordingly. If you repeat, "I am weak," you recruit your entire subconscious to confirm that prophecy. So ask yourself, what have you been hypnotizing yourself with? The broke man tells himself every day, "I'm overwhelmed." The rich man tells himself, "I create clarity." The weak man says, "I don't know where to start." The disciplined man says, "I will begin with what I have." Your words shape your wiring. Your inner speech becomes outer result. This is not poetry. This is physics of the mind. You must design a mental environment so intense that even doubt begins to believe in you. You must speak your standards until they echo louder than your past. You must drill into your own soul. I am not my history. I am not my emotions. I am the architect of my mind, the commander of my thoughts, and the executor of my vision. Nothing happens without belief, but belief is not passive. Belief is a decision, and belief must be rehearsed. You do not wait for confidence. You manufacture it through repetition. Now let us explore the immovable pillar of all mastery, accurate thinking. Accurate thinking is the ability to remove emotion from analysis and look at reality as it is not as we wish it to be. If a man lies to himself, he forfeits power. If he flatters himself, he blinds his own intelligence. If he refuses to confront his flaws, he will decorate them instead of destroying them. Accurate thinking is brutal. It is surgical. It does not soothe. It reveals. But only the revealed can be redeemed. You must see your patterns. You must name your failures. You must dissect your excuses. You must look in the mirror and say, "You, not the world, are the obstacle, and you, not the world, will be the solution." Thinking accurately means thinking in systems, not stories. Most people think in stories, "I can't succeed because I had a hard childhood," or "I'm just not cut out for business." That is story-based thinking. And story-based thinking is emotion-based thinking. But the disciplined man thinks in systems. He does not say, "I'm not cut out for wealth." He asks, "What are the behaviors that produce wealth, and how can I install them?" Accurate thinking kills victimhood. It annihilates blame, and without blame, all that remains is responsibility and power. And now, let us speak of the supreme law of the inner kingdom, response over reaction. Reaction is unconscious. It is inherited. It is robotic. It is your past using your present to sabotage your future. But response is deliberate. It is chosen. It is the moment when you decide, "I will not be a puppet. I will be a producer." The man who reacts to every insult, every delay, every challenge is owned by his environment. But the man who responds, who pauses, breathes, considers that man owns his environment. He who controls his response controls his reality. Understand this. The difference between broke and rich, peace and panic, obscurity and legacy often lies in a 3-second gap. The gap between stimulus and response. Most waste it. You will train it. In that gap is where gods are born and empires are saved. Take this to heart. Every time you feel an impulse to snap, to quit, to indulge, to shrink, pause, step into that sacred space between impulse and action and choose power, choose clarity, choose forward. Reaction is easy. Response is divine. Now listen with your whole soul. You were never meant to wait. You were meant to command. Waiting is the rust of potential. It corrodes courage. It decays discipline. It infects your thinking with excuses until your entire destiny becomes a graveyard of good intentions. Take action now or stay broke forever. Not just broke in money, broke in spirit, broke in courage, broke in clarity, broke in purpose. But if you act, if you train your mind to obey, your emotions to submit, and your spirit to persist, then you will walk into rooms and shift their energy. You will make decisions that others fear. You will rise while others retreat. And you will live not as a product of the world, but as the author of it. You are not a puppet. You are not a victim. You are the commander of your destiny, the shaper of your future, and the wielder of divine thought. And the world does not need another hesitant man. The world is starving for someone who moves, who builds, who burns doubt in the furnace of discipline and forges his future from the steel of his will. You must move now. Most men never grow beyond emotional childhood. Their success is conditional, their happiness leased, their confidence borrowed. They live on emotional credit dependent on praise, applause, reassurance, and shallow agreement. When that approval disappears, so does their strength. This is not strength. This is dependence in disguise. Hear this well. The man who cannot validate himself will always be manipulated. The man who needs the crowd to cheer cannot hear his own calling. The man who requires agreement from the world will sell his vision for the price of being liked. Do you want to be liked, or do you want to be free? You must learn to stand alone in your decision before the world stands with you. You must learn to praise yourself in the dark before they praise you in the light. You must learn to be your own certainty, your own validation, your own mirror. To be emotionally independent is to say, I do not act because they believe. I act because I believe. And what you believe truly, deeply, is what will become your life. Now, let us move to the discipline of inner dialogue. You speak to yourself all day. The average man does this unconsciously. He whispers failure into his own ears. I'm not ready. It's too late. They won't support me. And every whisper becomes a brick in the wall that keeps him poor. But you must become conscious. You must speak to yourself as a sovereign speaks to his army. Your self-talk must become strategic, deliberate, relentless. You do not say, I'm overwhelmed. You say, I sort, I simplify, I act. You do not say, I'm afraid. You say, fear is data, not destiny. You do not say, I can't handle this. You say, I was built for this. Your inner world must be trained like a war horse. Every word you speak must sharpen your edge. Every sentence must serve your mission. This is not fantasy. This is neuroarchitecture. You are rewiring the steel beams of your mental temple. Speak as though your life depends on it, because it does. The next principle is sacred. It is rarely taught because it cannot be faked. The power of calmness. You have been lied to about power. You were taught that power is loud, that it roars, that it shouts in meetings and demands attention. Number, that is, insecurity dressed in ego's robes. Real power is still. Real power is silent. Real power is calm. Calmness is a form of confidence so deep it does not need noise. The calm man owns the room before he speaks. He owns the negotiation before it begins. He does not react, he calculates. He does not panic, he observes. He does not rush, he governs. The man who remains calm in the face of attack, insult, betrayal, and chaos is the man who is feared and followed. Stillness is not weakness. It is readiness. It is poise. It is the control tower above the storm. While others flinch, you breathe. While others argue, you plan. While others over-explain, you execute. Cultivate calmness like a soldier polishes his blade. It is your greatest weapon in the war for your future. Now we arrive at one of the deepest truths of all inner transformation. Pain is the price of access. There is no greatness without pain, but not just pain from outside, pain from within, the pain of unlearning, the pain of breaking emotional addictions, the pain of killing the version of yourself that has survived but never thrived. Most men fear this pain, so they escape into distraction. They drink it away, scold it away, sleep it away, but it never leaves. It waits. And every day they avoid it, it grows, until one day it devours them in the form of regret. But you will walk toward it. You will feel it fully. You will ask it what it came to teach you, and in doing so, you will become the rarest of men, one who transmutes pain into power. Every challenge you have faced was not punishment, it was preparation. Every betrayal was refinement. Every failure was fertilizer. Do not curse your past. Build with it. Burn it into fuel. For those who master their suffering, create a life that even fate must respect. And now I will tell you a secret. Your mind is already your master. Your job is to become its commander. Do not think your mind is neutral. It has already been programmed by school, by society, by your family, by your fears. If you do nothing, it will default to mediocrity. It will whisper doubt and replay failure. It will favor comfort over conquest. That is its safety protocol. But your mission is not safety, it is sovereignty. To command the mind is to reprogram it with your own voice, your own vision, your own law. You must sit with it daily, give it new orders, visualize with intensity, affirm with repetition, execute with obsession. You are not a passive observer of your mind. You are the builder of it. Now I say this with absolute certainty. Your future is obedient to your inner world. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. You do not magnetize success by begging it to come. You build the internal structure that demands it. You must become so aligned in your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, and your discipline that the external world is forced to reflect your inner command. That is not arrogance. That is law. When the internal world is undisciplined, the external world is chaos. When the internal world is refined, focused, and driven, the external world begins to rearrange itself around you. But you must act, and act now. Not next week, not when it's easy, not when you feel ready, now. Because every moment you delay, your subconscious takes note. It says, he is not serious. He still fears discomfort. He still needs safety. Withdraw resources. Delay transformation. But every time you act, even in fear, you rewire yourself. Every time you move, you send the message to your nervous system. We no longer wait. We no longer react. We create. And the more you move, the more momentum you build. And the more momentum you build, the less emotion can stop you, until one day your identity is no longer that of a man who tries. It is that of a man who moves mountains. I say again, stop waiting. Take action now or stay broke forever. This is your crossing point. If you have followed me this far, then I know one thing. There is a fire in you that refuses to die. A storm, buried beneath polite smiles and silent days, waiting to be unleashed. And now, in this final hour, we will speak not to your logic, but to your beast. To that primal divine intelligence that does not negotiate, does not doubt, does not fear, it simply moves. Let us now speak of the final law, the law of irrevocable decision. Most people flirt with success. They date their dreams casually. They want results, but they leave the back door open. If it doesn't work, I'll try something else. That is not decision. That is emotional tourism. Real decision is final. It is sealed. It is a spiritual severing from all other options. It says, this is the mountain. This is the path. I climb or I die trying. Irrevocable decision is the moment the universe begins to move for you, because until that moment, you are not a force, you are a wish. And the universe does not serve wishes, it serves wills. You must slam the door shut. Burn the bridges. Declare, this is who I am now. There is no going back. There is only forward. There is only through. Now hear me, and hear me with all the blood in your soul. There is no cavalry coming. No mentor can save you, no video can transform you, no secret will unlock your future. You are the cavalry, you are the mentor, you are the secret. Everything you've been looking for in books, in others, in fantasies, it is in you, buried beneath layers of fear and delay and false humility. The door has always been there. You've just been standing outside of it waiting for permission to walk through. But kings don't ask permission. Warriors don't wait for certainty. Gods don't flinch. They move. And if you want a new life, if you want to escape mediocrity, if you want to taste power, sovereignty, clarity, peace, purpose, prosperity, you must move. The rich man is not necessarily smarter than you. He is not better than you. He simply decided sooner, acted sooner, failed faster, recovered stronger, and refused to wait. The difference is not divine favor. It is personal fire. And that fire, it must come from you. You must become the kind of man who makes decisions that terrify his former self. The kind of man who walks into discomfort like it's a second skin. The kind of man who builds discipline so unbreakable, even his emotions learn to kneel before him. Because when your will is stronger than your wants, nothing can stop you. Not failure, not fear, not betrayal, not fatigue, not lack, not rejection, not judgment, not even your own past. And now I say to you, without hesitation and without apology, this is the final warning. You can turn this message off and go back to scrolling, back to your comfort, back to the excuses that have kept you broke in wallet, in will, in worth. Or you can close your fists, clench your jaw, and decide, not tomorrow, not after the next paycheck, not after you feel more ready. Now, to act, to cut the cord on hesitation, to rewire your life with discipline so sharp it slices through every excuse. To become the man who no longer hopes to win but prepares to win. To become so consistent, so emotionally detached, so mentally unshakable that your results scream long before you speak. And when others ask you years from now, how did you do it? How did you rise while we stayed stuck? You will smile and say, because I stopped waiting, and I moved while the rest of the world was still thinking about it. That is your legacy. That is your power. That is the man you must now become. Stop waiting. Take action now or stay broke forever. The choice is, and always has been yours. And so I leave you here, not with comfort, not with congratulations, but with command. Move, because nothing less than your destiny is on the line. And it will not wait for you, not 1 second longer. And it will not wait for you, not 1 second longer. Because time is not your friend. Time is your mirror. It reflects exactly what you give it, nothing more, nothing less. It will not bend for your excuses. It will not wait for your healing. It will not pause for your indecision. Time is indifferent to your struggle, but it is obedient to your discipline. Every hour you spend indulging fear is an hour donated to the empire of failure. Every minute you spend explaining why you're not ready is a brick you place on the tomb of your own potential. And still you are breathing, which means the pen is still in your hand. But let us make something very clear. The next chapter of your life will not be written by fate. It will be carved into stone by your daily habits or by your daily hesitation. Stop talking about how much potential you have. Stop fantasizing about what you could do if things were different. They're not, and they won't be. Because success is not about different conditions, it's about a different you. The storm will not pass. The fear will not disappear. The resistance will not vanish. They were never supposed to. They are not the obstacles, they are the test. You want to know how to become unstoppable? You stop needing it to feel good. You stop needing them to understand. You stop needing the perfect plan. You start waking up with a clear intention and executing with ruthless consistency. You stop being a man who dreams of change, and you become the man who forces it into existence with his grind, grit, and godlike focus. There is no magic in motionless waiting, but there is miracle in relentless movement. Because here is the truth the world doesn't want to tell you. Nobody is coming to fix you. Not your parents, not your mentors, not your spouse, not your boss, not your therapist, not God, not life, not some late-night revelation. You are the rescue. The hand you're hoping will pull you up is at the end of your own wrist. You will either rise with trembling legs and blood in your teeth, or you will sink with clean hands and stories about why it wasn't your fault. Tell me, which man do you want to be remembered as? Because whether or not you realize it, your name is being written right now, in the silence of your decisions, in the repetition of your habits, in the thoughts you allow when no one is watching. And if you keep waiting, waiting for energy, for support, for the market, for the timing, for the perfect version of you, then you will never become the man who was born to break the cycle. Let's go further. Let's speak of fear. Not the kind of fear that startles, but the deeper one, the silent fear that pretends to be logic, the fear that whispers, play it safe, the fear that masquerades as responsibility, as humility, as patience. That voice, that's the voice of your cage. You think it's keeping you safe, but it's just keeping you small. And no man who listens to that voice will ever taste greatness, because greatness requires risk. Greatness requires exposure. Greatness requires you to walk toward the flame and trust that what burns off is what never belonged to you anyway. The only thing you should be afraid of is wasting this one life. Not failing, not losing, but never fully showing up. Never becoming dangerous to your limitations. Never becoming unrecognizable to your former self. Never becoming the man your future self would be proud to meet. So I ask you right now, with your heart pounding and your mind awake, what are you waiting for? Permission? You're the authority now. Certainty? You create it through movement. Support? You earn it through results. Confidence? You build it one brutal, disciplined act at a time. If you don't claim your future, someone else will. If you don't control your mind, the world will. If you don't detach from emotion and anchor to mission, then you will be led by mood, by drama, by weakness. And you were not built for that. You were built to rule yourself, to silence the panic and move anyway, to look your doubt in the eye and say, you're not strong enough to stop me, to walk past failure like it's just another mile marker on the road to your empire. Because it is. That's what all of this has been about. Not motivation, not inspiration, not a fleeting rush of adrenaline. It's about remembering who the hell you are. A man forged in purpose, trained in thought, armored in detachment, disciplined in silence, focused in chaos, dangerous in peace. And now you act. Not later. Not when it's easier. Not after one more article, one more book, one more delay dressed as preparation. You act because there is no turning back, because there is no one else coming, because this is your moment. And if you let it pass, then understand this fire may never return with the same intensity again. This clarity, this conviction, this war cry, it has come to wake you up. So wake up. Take action now. Or stay broke, not just in money, but in meaning. Not just in resources, but in resolve. Not just in status, but in spirit. And if that's not acceptable to you anymore, then don't just nod. Don't just agree. Get up and build, brick by brutal brick, step by step, word by word, decision by decision. You are the author of the rest of this story. So pick up the pen and start writing the chapter they'll never forget. You must now become unavailable to your old self, unavailable to weakness, unavailable to indecision, unavailable to the version of you that needed sympathy instead of strategy, noise instead of direction, comfort instead of command. You don't need more advice. You need obedience to your own decisions. You don't need another year of figuring it out. You need a decade's worth of action compressed into the next 90 days, executed with such unwavering discipline that even your DNA begins to change. Because if your habits haven't changed, your transformation hasn't started. Let us speak now of self-betrayal, the greatest thief of destiny. Every time you promise yourself something and don't follow through, you weaken your identity. You create a fracture between who you say you are and what you actually do. And in that fracture, doubt takes root like a weed. But every time you keep your word to yourself, even if it's small, even if it's hard, even if no one sees it, you forge something eternal. You carve a new self-image, one that says, I am a man who follows through. And from that new image comes new action. From that new action comes new results. And from those results comes new reality not handed to you, not given to you, but earned. Because the world doesn't give crowns, the world gives pressure, and those who rise under it become kings. Now, I will give you a truth so sharp it will either free you or cut you open. Your current reality is the exact harvest of your past discipline. Not your potential, not your talent, not your heart, your discipline. And the life you will live 1 year from now is already being shaped in the shadows of today's invisible decisions. The food you eat, the thoughts you permit, the hour you wake, the distractions you indulge, the people you keep, the goals you ignore, the boundaries you maintain. Discipline is not just what you do, it's what you tolerate. And most people tolerate too much mediocrity from themselves. They tolerate emotional turbulence, sloppy thinking, delayed action, casual energy, lukewarm standards, and then they wonder why their life refuses to change. You want transformation? Then raise your intolerance for everything that insults your future. Get angry not at others, but at your own surrender. Rage not at the world, but at the part of you that stayed silent when you should have spoken, that stayed still when you should have built, that slept when your legacy needed you awake. Because your future is begging you to become intolerant of anything that looks like your past. Now we descend deeper, into the chamber of thought discipline. You think you need more time, number. You need fewer undisciplined thoughts. You need to stop letting your mind become a motel for doubt. You need to stop renting space to worry, to fear, to mental clutter. The mind is not your playground. It is your engine room. And the man who allows untrained thoughts to run wild is like a captain who lets the storm steer the ship. You must install filters. You must become vigilant. You must interrogate your thoughts like a border guard at the gate of greatness. Are you useful? Do you serve the mission? Do you energize or drain? Do you belong in a mind of a man building an empire? And if the answer is no, reject the thought. Replace it. Reprogram. Reload. You are the guardian of your own mental kingdom. And every time you allow a weak thought to pass, it grows roots. But every time you replace it with a powerful one, you build a new neurological empire. This is scientific sovereignty. It's not hype. It's biology. It's dominance over the gray matter between your ears. That's where money is made. That's where peace is born. That's where vision takes shape. Not in your bank account, not in your followers, not in your resume, but in the 5-inch battlefield between your temples. And if you win there, you win everywhere. Let's not forget the discipline of focus, the sword that slices mediocrity to pieces. We are in the age of infinite noise. Every ping, every post, every message is an invitation to give away your sovereignty, and most men accept. They call it staying informed. I call it staying enslaved. Focus is not a skill anymore. It is a superpower. Because if you can sit still, undistracted, undivided, and undeterred and attack a single mission until it bleeds results, you have already outpaced 99% of the population. You don't need more tools. You need fewer temptations. You don't need more apps. You need more hours of uninterrupted war on your goals. The man who can focus without fail is the man who cannot fail. And now we come to the ultimate discipline, energy allocation. Ask yourself every hour, where is my power going? Into envy? Into worry? Into proving yourself to people who don't even respect themselves? Into conversations that drain instead of elevate? Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you write a quiet apology to your destiny. But the disciplined man, he hoards energy like gold. He spends it only on high-return investments: vision, mission, self-expansion, family, execution, silence, strategy. He doesn't explain his goals. He builds them. He doesn't prove his worth. He lives it. He doesn't chase applause. He creates results that command silence from the doubters. And that is what I want for you. Not a life of noise, a life of unignorable outcomes. And that can only come from this one thing: relentless, undistracted, emotionally detached execution. Because when your execution becomes more powerful than your excuses, then you no longer fear failure. You expect success, not as a hope, not as a maybe, but as a mathematical certainty forged by behavior. That is where you are going. That is who you are becoming. And that is why you cannot stop now. Because this is the territory where men break or are born again. You see, discipline is not a morning routine. It's not a checklist. It's not a lifestyle hack. It is a rebirth ritual. It is the brutal and sacred act of killing everything inside you that has kept you average. And that death, that is not gentle. It comes with sweat, with silence, with sacrifice, with days so lonely you forget your own name and remember your purpose. So hear me now, and let these words write themselves across your spine. You will not win this war by being the same man you were yesterday. You must evolve or evaporate. You must detach or drown. You must command or be controlled. And that evolution begins in the dark, when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when there is no scoreboard, no feedback, no cheerleaders, just you and the brutal grind of becoming. That is the threshold most men cannot cross. But you were not made to be most men. You were made to transcend the need for external conditions, to act without permission, to move without motivation, to rise without applause, to win because you said so, because you finally realized that the greatest force in the universe is a man who keeps his word to himself, not a man who's never failed, but a man who refuses to stay small, a man who walks away from excuses like they were former lovers, a man who sees his weakness and trains it into extinction. You ask me what real freedom is? Real freedom is when your decisions are no longer emotionally negotiated. Real freedom is when your rituals remain unbroken no matter the chaos. Real freedom is when you don't wait to feel like it, you command yourself to become it. Discipline is not restrictive. Discipline is what rebuilds you from ruin, because most people are still carrying the architecture of failure in their nervous systems. They respond like slaves. They doubt like children. They act like amateurs, not because they are weak, but because they've never been rebuilt. But you are rebuilding now, brick by mental brick, steel beam by decision, discipline by discipline. Every rep, every refusal, every quiet act of personal excellence. You are becoming unshakable. You are becoming unavailable to mediocrity. You are becoming unrecognizable to the version of yourself that needed reminders to be great. You are becoming the man who no longer needs to be told what to do. You already know, and you already do it, because that's what the elite do. They don't negotiate discipline. They install it. And now we come to the final fire. Let's talk about obsession. Yes, obsession. The world will call it unhealthy. They will call it extreme. They will call it dangerous. Let them, because obsession is the only frequency strong enough to override the noise of mediocrity. Obsession is what replaces motivation. Obsession is what lets you show up on days your feelings declare war on your purpose. Obsession is the edge that separates those who kinda want it from those who will have it or die trying. You were not meant to be balanced. You were not meant to be normal. You were not meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to build a life so precise, so powerful, so aligned that anything less than excellence feels like spiritual betrayal. You were meant to be possessed by the future version of yourself. So possessed that when others see you, they feel the weight of someone who has already decided the outcome. You want to be dangerous? Get obsessed with your inner standard. Get obsessed with who you become when no one's watching. Get obsessed with dominating your own emotions so deeply that they begin to report to you like soldiers. Because the man who cannot be moved internally cannot be stopped externally. Let them mock you. Let them doubt you. Let them watch as you execute in silence. And one day when the results begin to roar louder than their noise, they'll ask, "How did you do it?" And you will not answer with words. You will answer with who you became. Now lean in. There is no finish line to greatness, only thresholds. And today you crossed one. By hearing this, by not running, by not clicking away, by not shrinking, you stayed in the fire. You stayed in the mirror. You stayed in the war. And now it is time to do more than feel it. Now it is time to move like a man possessed. Because I promise you this, the most dangerous man is not the loudest. It's the one who trained in silence so long that his results show up louder than he ever could. You are him if you decide. So go. Train, execute, build, ascend. Stop waiting. Take action now, or stay broke forever. But if you choose to rise, then never look back. Because your future, it's not just possible, it's already waiting. And it's begging you to become the man who was never meant to wait.